Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the unveiling of the newest edition of Devoteam. Devoteam, a spotlight of 150 emerging technologies now. I'm Marion Moreau, a tech journalist, and I will be the host for the next hour. Today, experts from Devoteam, IDC, and Rich will take you through some insights on the top 150 technologies featured in the Devoteam TechRadar. And on the key trend this year, the cloud native. What is it? We're gonna of course explore cloud native altogether. There is a QR code you can see on screen, so feel free to, of course, to scan the QR code to, of course, enter in details on this TechRadar. This is a live event, of course, so as you can guess, I will take any question here on my iPad and, of course, address to all the experts around the table. But now, before entering in details once again on this TechRadar new edition, I'm going up to show you this new edition. I'm really excited to host you, Karen Offray, Head of Strategic Marketing at Devoteam, and also the Publication Director of TechRadar. How are you?
I'm doing all right. How are you?
What a tough job you've done.
Yeah, long job. As I say, to people who knows me, it's like a baby, 9 months of work. Very happy to have it now born, and hopefully lots of people will find it inspiring and interesting.
So as I introduced TechRadar, a spotlight on 150 new technologies, can you tell us more about the initiative, why you do that edition now annually?
Yeah. So we launched it indeed last year, and we really wanted to make a rendezvous of technology, because we noticed, as most of companies know, companies are facing lots of challenges that will be impossible to meet without digital. And sometimes they may feel helpless in the face of an abundant offer, but also surging innovation. And cutting through this noise and selecting the right technology is not an easy task. So with this in mind, we have decided to launch the TechRadar, which is a guide that provides a comprehensive overview of what's happening across the technological landscape in perpetual motion. We really want to give guidance to the companies. We are not telling them what to do, but though we want, with our help, them to be able to take the right decisions.
So as I said previously, it's all about 150 technologies that have been scrutinized.
Yeah, that's right. And to be honest, it was even more. There are millions of technology, right? So we gathered more than 400 technologies at the very beginning that we had to narrow down to what we consider to be the most emerging, but also most relevant for organizations to have in their radar in 2023, so they can actually steer their digital journey.
Isn't this document, meaning this report, this guide, as you said, not too complicated for a non-techie person?
I know it can sound technical, and that's true. That's a tech guide. But we have revamped this new edition with new level of content that we want to be understandable both for techie profile, but also business professionals. So we are providing a perspective on cloud native, and our expert will dive more into the topic later on, but we are also providing some analysis on trends like, more generally speaking, cloud, automation, data, sustainability, cybersecurity, and also product and application development. And all of this before even diving into the technology content per se. We are also giving our opinion on some hot topics and how to get started on matters like data mesh, green IT operation also, and for example, post-quantum threat. There are plenty of them in there, so I really encourage everyone to have a look and give us their feedback on that.
So it's useful for techie people, for geek people, for business people, but on the contrary, is TechRadar useful for those who are on the cutting edge technology?
Well, of course. I mean, this has been built by tech experts just like the ones that you are referring to. And not only is this guide at organization, but also at talents that may be questioning their career path or wondering which certification to get and which technology, etc. So we know that planning the next move when you're a talent is not easy either.
Anything you want to add just to on this TechRadar edition?
Maybe I can give a very personal word to all the Devoteamers that have been contributing to the TechRadar. More than 96 people contributed. It could have been even more. You are truly appreciated, and we are very happy that since last year you keep working with us into building our true premium tech consulting brand.
So thank you very much, Karen, for your presence here at this TechRadar new edition. Congratulations once again. It's a lot of work, of course. And let's now deep dive into cloud native, because it's the hardest trend, as you said, Karen, just after an advertising break.
Cloud is part of our daily life. It can take many shapes: public, private, hybrid, edge, sovereign. More than half of companies use multiple cloud providers. How can you manage cloud diversity and accelerate your business? Moving to the cloud is not the challenge anymore. Adopting cloud at scale and leveraging cloud innovation is. From first ignition to full throttle, you need a trusted partner to guide and drive every step of your cloud journey.
And welcome back here on this live event dedicated to TechRadar new edition. If you're just join us, feel free, of course, to ask any question. I will take them, of course, just after this panel discussion. And it's time to introduce all the experts from Devoteam to talk about one of the hottest trends of TechRadar new edition, which is cloud native. I'm delighted to host you, Philippe Bournonesque, VP of Innovative Development at Devoteam. Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
Yeah, fine.
Not so stressed.
Stressed,
Good.
yes, a
No,
little bit.
stressed. Why? Just beside you, Jan van Alem, CTO at Devoteam, Netherlands.
That's correct.
How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Fine. Just in front of you, we are welcome Franck Benard, Cloud Native Innovation Labs Director at Devoteam. So we will enter into technical details about Cloud Native. And we are very, very excited to have you with us, Nir Shefi, CTO and CEO of Reach, which is a company, but we would say a startup dedicated to cloud.
It is a startup, yeah.
It is a startup.
Great to be here.
You're based in Israel, aren't you?
That's right. We're based in Israel,
Yeah.
like 5-year-old company. As you said, a startup company, mostly cloud native.
Yeah, okay. So, as I said just previously, and Karen just mentioned a little bit. Oh, sorry, because of course we have remotely. So, sorry, Arshana, of course, we have you from IDC. Arshana, thank you for the experts. We have Arshana Venkatraman, who leads IDC's European Cloud Ops, FinOps, and Data Management Research at IDC. Hi, Arshana.
Hello, Marianne.
Sorry, I was so into my notes. Welcome. Well, you're based in Malaga. You're live from Malaga,
That's right.
I guess.
No, I'm actually based in London, but I'm here to meet a lot of data and cloud native experts in Malaga. So dialing in from sunny Malaga. Sorry, I couldn't be there in person, but very much looking forward to talking to you all.
Well, you're more than welcome. So let's now talk all together about cloud native, which is, as I said, the core trend of TechRadar, and we want to know why you have chosen that hardest trend for all the businesses. But looking back over the past 5 years, of course, cloud was not like a trend. Cloud is core of transformation for all the businesses. Philippe, what is your thoughts about cloud at large? What can you say about? We would get your feedback.
Yeah. So cloud is more than 10 years old, and in the past 10 years, most of the customers they went to the easiest way, which is to move their existing application, monolithic application, to the cloud and use the cloud as an infrastructure and maybe close some data center. So that's the first step. And now we feel that business is asking more from cloud. It's asking speed, it's asking business innovation, scalability, sustainability. And cloud native is the way to go further and create those new type of applications. And by the way, when we built the TechRadar, we did not give our experts the motto, find cloud native technologies. We ask them, find technologies. And when we look at the 400 at the beginning, and the common thing was most of them were cloud native, either themselves cloud native or helping creating cloud native application.
One question, maybe. What are the key takeaways? Do you want to have the micro as well on this? First experience, as Philippe said, of 10 years experience for all the companies.
So if you look back at those 10 years, I would say we had multiple generations of cloud. Okay, we started about 10 years, 15 years ago with private cloud and hybrid cloud, and moved to public cloud, and now it's really time of cloud native. And as Philippe said, we had the time where we said we just do lift and shift, we move to cloud, but now it's really time about modernization. So modernization about the way you deliver applications, the way you modernize applications, the way you work. We'll talk about this one. So really now we are in the third age of cloud, I would say. And we see with a company like Rich that this is really speeding up right now.
Jan from Devoteam Netherlands, that I introduced you. The technology landscape is constantly evolving, of course, and businesses are looking to stay ahead of the curve to remain competitive, of course. What trends do you see emerging beyond cloud migration that could potentially revolutionize the market?
Well, that's to some extent a big question, and what you see is that when you think from a monolithic experience where we were and we moved to cloud native, let's say microservices more and more, you also move to a decentralized infrastructure. And a decentralized infrastructure you need to manage in a different way. So you need a control plane to have a good visibility on what's happening in your infrastructure. And I think Rich as well, you have all these microservices running on whatever cloud, maybe also on-premise still possible when you think cloud native. So I think control planes are a very important thing. One that we mentioned in TechRadar as well is cross-plane, for example. And then, of course, security, because security will change a little bit in how you think about security. Maybe we'll touch on that a little bit later to go a little bit more in depth. And an important part, because it's infrastructure what we're talking about, but then as a developer, your landscape becomes more difficult as well. You have all these tools that you need to do to get some code into production. So things like internal developer platforms will have a big rise the coming years, because it will help them to focus on the code instead of all the stuff that's happening around it. So I think that's a big one. And the last one that I'd like to mention is, it's technology. We talk a lot about technology, we call it TechRadar, but in fact it's a shift to business. So this enables us to use all the technology to create business value instead of just focusing on the technology. So I think the shift to business is a big one that we will see happen as well.
Business is, of course, one of the key questions of that discussion. Franck, what is the question that arises is, of course, that business value. What is the business value of modernizing cloud programs, cloud maybe transformation?
So we see today a trend, and it has been shown by a few companies, where a trend which is called business as a platform. So you take your business, you take your knowledge, and you try to transform this into a platform. So we've seen this with big companies like Uber in the past, but now it's coming to, I would say, business and enterprise. And when you want to do this, there are a few primitives or a few trends that you need to adopt. For example, you need to start with engineering velocity. So it means that you need to be able to quickly deliver and update and new features and so on. And this is a different paradigm from what you have seen in the past. So that's the first one. The second one, it's about leveraging some innovative services. So you want, data is everywhere today. AI is, there is a big breakthrough right now with the generative AI. So it's how you're going to leverage those innovative services to monetize and bring value from your data. And the final one we see, and I've seen this for 6 months to a year, it's about sustainability going into the application. So there is really this trend of eco-design of applications. So there is really a notion today that we need to be sustainable. And this is embedded into the new applications and the way you develop it and so on. So business as a platform is a key trend today.
Archana, I would like to ask you the question, and of course you're part of the discussion. Sorry once again to have. So it's a question specific for you, as of course you you are an analyst, an expert of cloud ops, as I introduced you, IDC's European Cloud Ops, FinOps. What is your view about the business value being a business transforming, cloud transformation?
Yeah, no, that's a great question, right? And when you think about cloud adoption, it really is like that movie title. It's everything, everywhere, all at once, and it can be very overwhelming for a lot of organizations. And in the last, like when we look at our research and when we look at the survey, until 18 months ago, the IT team was the main decision maker for cloud investments. But in the last 18 months, we're beginning to see a lot more business influence, a lot more data science team influence, a lot more developer influence into cloud investment, right? They are the ones who are dictating even on to IT on how the cloud adoption journey should look like, what business value they need to get from that. So it really is determined by the users, and users are now getting not just a seat on the table, but a very strong voice on the table. And when all these different influencers come to influence the cloud adoption, it gets very closely tied to business value. And business value can be anything for a business, right? Most of the time, what we see is speed, scale, like velocity of engineering or velocity of services is a very important one. But also this ability to adapt quickly, because post-COVID, organizations are thinking that volatility and ambiguity is a permanent thing that will stay with us. So how do they have a resilient and adaptable environment that will help them pivot to the new opportunities quickly? And that's the big business value realization that they're looking for from these modern cloud foundations.
So if I understand well, COVID was another accelerator of transformation.
Definitely, definitely.
Okay. Philip, one key number that is very interesting to comment, and I would like to have your comment. Gartner predicts that by 2025, 90% of all new digital initiatives will be built on cloud-native platforms. Everyone has their own definition, but it's time to get yours. What is cloud-native?
Yeah, first of all, it's Gartner, but I guess IDC also promotes cloud-native market impact. The cloud-native definition is not very precise. For me, it's not very precise. It's a little bit fuzzy. And the best way to find it is the Cloud-Native Computing Foundation. Some of the technology of the TechRadar come from this foundation, which gathers around 100 open source projects, of which Kubernetes and others. And they say that it's a way to go from a monolithic application to an application built on independent parts, what we call microservices, connected by API, using containers, Kubernetes, using serverless, using service mesh. In fact, using all platform as a service offered by the cloud, either in public cloud or even, and here on Ridge you can explain that, also on premise.
Nir, it's interesting to get your opinion about the forthcoming the 5 year, especially in terms of new ways of working related to cloud modernization. What is your view about
so first
this?
of all, we need to define what cloud native is. And I think I a little bit disagree on the definition over there. Everybody, it's pretty fuzzy. But me and Frank spoke before this, and he told me maybe it's a joke. But they asked the AWS CEO what is cloud native. He said everything that runs on AWS. So my definition is that everything that runs on Ridge, that's cloud native. Having said that, to me, cloud native is a language. It's a spec, and I think far and foremost, Kubernetes would be the leading spec. Spec, for those of you who are not very technical, that's a language like English.
So it's not only an infrastructure, right?
Right, it's not infrastructure, it's a language. And it's a language, it's a spec. It's for all of us to communicate, we need to understand English. If we don't understand English, we cannot communicate. And this is, if you go back to the 90s, I say, to the web browser wars, if you remember, old enough to remember, then you do know that back then HTML was not, a unified spec. It's not a language. Today, everybody that writes a web application runs on any browser. In the same way, that's cloud native. If you write an application to run on top of Kubernetes, or that's the spec, that's the language, you could run it anywhere. And you don't need to be, you don't vendor lock yourself to a specific cloud. When you're using today any web service, and a web service is an application that runs on a cloud. There's a ton of them, amazing ones, but it's not cloud native, to me at least. And if you're running an application on Kubernetes, then you're cloud native. And I think, asking for the last 5 years, I think the amazing stuff that has happened, set aside all of the amazing software that was developed as a web service, that's the shift, and it's called I don't know, the container war or whatnot. Kubernetes has won this war, and now it is the de facto spec. It is the language, and everybody that develops to Kubernetes can deploy it anywhere. So basically, that's my definition to cloud native.
Mm-hmm. Isn't it, sorry guys, a battle of standardization? What do you think about that?
I think what Nir said, the battle is won, I think. It's Kubernetes. And I think the interesting thing of cloud native, we always use it cloud and then we stick with cloud, but running everywhere means also running it outside of the cloud. So you can run it on edge, you can run it on premise, as long as you stick to that language, it works. Exactly.
Arshana,
no, that's a very important point that's made, right? I think what end users want today is that how can I build an application once and run it anywhere I want as the needs of my application change. If it requires a lot more security, I need to be able to bring it back on a private cloud or on-prem environment. So build once, run anywhere is the strategy that organizations want to adopt, and cloud native lends itself very well to that. And I really like these different perspectives, right? The minute you start becoming very prescriptive about what cloud native is, look, these are the 7 parts of the framework that is cloud native, then you're restricting the adoption. A lot of developers are very innovative with how they want to deal with things. So there are broad framework that has been highlighted here, like it is container-based. Kubernetes is the accepted orchestration and management layer. It needs to be secure and robust. You have all these agile development methodologies, and it is a language. So if we stick to these fundamental principles, cloud native can be anything that delivers business value to you in the modern age, because we are now entering an era where we'll see application explosion, right? In the next 3 to 4 years, we will develop as many applications as was developed in the last 40 years. So we are expecting 400 million applications to be launched. And a lot of these would be logical composite applications that need that cloud native kind of framework to be developed. Otherwise, that's all the developers will be doing, right? And you will need a lot more of them. So how do we get citizen developers involved? That's when you have all these cloud native framework becoming very, very important for the business.
So Arshana, you almost partly answered my first question for you. What are your predictions?
Yeah, I'll get my shiny crystal ball out. I think what we are now beginning to see is that cloud adoption, especially in Europe, is getting so much more nuanced that people are taking a workload first based approach. And when you think about workload first approach, it really goes back to that point of modernization that was very well made a while ago. So companies are not just building net new applications in this cloud native world, but they're also thinking about how we can augment our traditional crown jewel applications. How can we use all these modern development frameworks to for our core workloads? So they're taking very much an application first or workload first approach, and you have all these different influencers, and business value realization is becoming extremely important as they make these decisions. So it's very closely connected to the business value, and sometimes that business value is sustainability and efficiency. And companies are looking at cloud to reduce or consolidate their data center footprint and gain efficiencies there. So whatever the business value is, organizations are looking at cloud and cloud native and how it can help them achieve not just their business goals, but also long-term strategic goals.
Right, yeah. Do you want to react or no, not specifically?
I can give you my predictions, but I'm always wrong. So it's
yeah, give us your prediction.
But for me to predict what will happen tomorrow is something that is difficult. You could ask my wife. So anyhow, like 5 years ago when we tried at Reach to predict, this is when we founded the company, what will happen, we thought that 5G would be widely adopted, and it didn't happen. It's very difficult to predict how technology gets adopted by users, and this is like an infrastructure play, especially cloud is an infrastructure play which is difficult to predict. And the way we thought about it back then, 5 years ago, is we thought that 5G would be deployed, right? So a new generation of application will emerge, right? So high latency, low latency, high throughput to the applications, and you could, amazing applications could be deployed on your mobile phones, but this didn't happen. To me, I think in the next 5 years, this will happen. I think it will boost. You see all of the hyperscalers, this is AWS, GCP, and Azure, and many more are working on projects to allow people to extend the cloud to anywhere. And this is exactly what we are trying to do at the edge or any location, whether this is private or a public location. You could run a fully managed Kubernetes solution, so applications developers could agnostically deploy their applications anywhere in order to accommodate this use. So if you ask me, yes, it's not prediction. People are going in a cloud-native way, but it depends on what the application will be, and this depends on a lot of stuff. For example, 5G deployment and other networking issues, which still are deployed.
One technology is not emerging, and we all know that this is now not the future but the present. AI and ChatGPT, all eyes on ChatGPT from all around the world, and generative artificial intelligence. Frank, what kind of link we could do, if we could do, between ChatGPT, AI, and cloud native?
So actually, what we did with Philip, we asked ChatGPT about what's the link between cloud native and AI, and I would say it's twofold. So I will take the first one, which is to say how you can leverage AI to infuse cloud native. So just to give you an example, we're talking about modernization, decoupling the monolith. You start having some startups where they go deep into how the monolith is working, and you leverage AI algorithms to predict and propose some, I would say, decoupling. So that's one way. It's how you can help, I would say, modernizing your applications. Then you have a second one, which is, the application now, it's more and more complex when you are in microservices to manage and determine if something is going well or not. And so AI can help, with things such as deep log to look into the way an application should behave, and if anything is abnormal, then it detects it. The same as if for me, I've got my watch and saying, okay, your blood pressure is too high, and so on. So that's the second one. And of course, you will see more and more, automated resolutions and self-healing thanks to AI. So that's how I would say AI can help cloud native. But we also look at the other way around with Philip, which is how AI is fueled by cloud native.
Yeah, in fact, if you need good AI models, you need good data. And you need pipelines, you need a lot of software. And in fact, in the TechRadar, you have a big part, a big chunk of the TechRadar, which is focused on all the technologies to manage data, not only for AI, by the way, also for analysis. You find database like Snowflake, you find a lot of technologies. Second point also is that more and more we need AI on the field, on the spot, not only in the cloud, but available on-prem to avoid the latency. And here you have some edge technologies like edX in the TechRadar and Kubernetes, of course, on which you bring AI services to bring AI recommendation near the users.
I would like now to talk about how to secure cloud transformation and potential challenges in terms of operating model. Philippe, if you want to answer my question, some people listening to us may be CTOs or technical, of course, technical and skills and people. What should they have in mind, before entering such a challenge like transforming a cloud strategy and
for
cloud
security,
operation for security?
Yeah, for security, you find in the TechRadar a lot of technologies to secure this complex application, because cloud native applications are not a monolith. It's the contrary.
Yeah.
It's a lot of building blocks connected together. And to secure that, there is a new category of software named Cloud Native Application Protection Platform. There are Wiz, there are others in the TechRadar. So it's one way. The other way is if you build an application with lots of moving parts, at the development stage, you need to embed security. So it's not only DevOps, it's DevSecOps. And there are some software, new software, from the build phase, where the security is embedded, to the operation phase with the KNAPP platforms.
Do you want to have a word on security issues?
Yeah,
I guess there are, you know.
No, always, yeah. I think security is something that's always been a point of concern, right? So, and with the internet and with opening up more to outside, it's become more difficult. And I think one of the things, and that's not maybe specifically cloud native, but you have to think of security when you begin. Not, oh, I built a microservice, oh, I have to secure it. How should we do that? So you have to start with, okay, I need a secure environment where I can build a microservice and deploy a microservice. I think that's the most important question. And then you come into the notice that we were kind of used to, I have a monolith and I have to protect my monolith, and if nobody comes in, then I'm okay. But that inside and outside idea is completely gone because it's all outside. And you have small microservices that live outside, that are connected with the API, so everybody can put a request to your microservice. So you have to really, from the inside, protect all the data and everything that's important for you. And then you, of course, need an overall view of that. So as we said, the infrastructure is becoming decentralized, so these microservices run everywhere. So tools like, for example, it's in the TechRadar, Elasticsearch security can help you to get an overall view. Okay, this is what's happening in my complete landscape. And I think last one is, and that's very cloud native, of course, is automate stuff. So yes, we want to automate it, but automation also gives a new attack vector. So I think you also need to look at your supply chain. How does my automation work? What's the supply chain of my software? And tools like Cube Clarity, for example, can help you with the complete bill of material throughout your supply chain, and where has my software been and who interacted with it to secure that as well.
Yeah, just a word before going to Ashana, please.
One note on security. Again, if you're going back to the definition, at least my definition of cloud native, is that this is a de facto spec, it's a language. So if everybody knows the language, of course automation tools are amazing and they've been out there for years and becoming better and better. But if you're using the same language, the same spec, then you reduce the probability of having an attack or better security, right? Using one tool.
Exactly.
Right now, if somebody uses AWS, GCP, Azure, or whatever cloud, environment that they're using, they need to have the skill set, the know-how, the tools. Each one has their own environment. If you're using cloud native, you could use one. You reduce the probability of an attack, or the know-how or the knowledge to do it. So it actually allows you a better transparency.
Secure environment. Do you agree, Ashana? Isn't it too risky? My question is direct. Isn't it too risky to move strategic assets into cloud native infrastructure?
If you don't take security and governance seriously, then yes. But if you've it's an enterprise IT principle, right? You always think about security, so you cannot. It's on the security team and on those stakeholders to make sure they adapt the security architecture to welcome cloud native, because like it or not, it is happening. It has to happen because the business needs it and the developer needs it. So unless the security becomes an enabler of these technologies will be adopted and it will become a lot more riskier. It's such a different paradigm. We even spoke about it as a language, right? So if it represents such a different paradigm for developing applications and thinking about technology architecture, that security needs to go beyond just perimeter security to just think about embedding it right at the design stage. And I think, Philip, it was you who mentioned DevSecOps, right? I think I'll go one step further to say SecDevOps. We need to really shift security left when it comes to these kind of modern technologies, even with generative AI. Right? If we think about using AI in the edge or combining cloud native and AI, we always look at the possibilities, but it's also very important to look at the risks and take it as a new challenge to develop something new, right? And that way, security will get a seat at the table as well and be part of that embedded security by design architecture, which is very important for continuous sustainable growth.
One another challenge to move into cloud native for a company is, of course, to hire some specific skills. My first question, Frank, is does it require specific skills, meaning cloud native specialists in a word? And second, what about the battle, of top talents today?
So you see from near or not China, there are new talents and new skills that you need. So you need to have security by design, zero trust, and everything embedded. So you need to have people who are minded by security. Then it's as explained by Nir, you have the infrastructure, you have the application, and in between you have the platform. And there is a new trend today which is around skills for platform engineering. And I'm sure we discussed because backstage and so on, and we have Humanitech in the TechRadar. So this platform engineering means that you need to have a new kind of skills. Mm-hmm. It's basically it complements DevOps, SREs, and platform engineering. It's about how you manage the life cycle of the platform. Mm-hmm. How you run it, how you automate the deployment, and how you do the observability. Yeah, it's a product. So it's a platform, basically, it's a platform as a product. So those new skills are platform engineers. So I often say that your right brain is ops, your left brain is dev, and then your product is platform. And those are new skills. So of course, as you said, there is a de facto spec, which is you need to know how to run and basically leverage Kubernetes. That's one. But you also need to know many things about, we were mentioning service mesh, so that's another one. So quite a lot of skills that you need to basically win this battle of cloud native.
Frank, as a startup, I would like to ask you the same question. What about, the talents, the skills
I think I totally agree with Frank. As I said before, cloud native is a language. I think that many of what is called the SRE or DevOps engineers today learn this language, they know it, and if they don't, they should. If they want to have like a career in DevOps, the world is obviously shifting towards there. But also they need to think like developers, they need to know code. I could give you an example. All of our CI/CD pipelines, everything is written in code, in Go, not in scripts, not in like old-fashioned automation. Is written today in a language, and then they need the capability of looking into this and developing and helping the development team in order to find issues or bugs and so on. And so they need to speak this language of cloud native, but also need to speak the developer language. So this is a skill set that I think is a common thing right now. If you want to pursue an SRE or an IT or a DevOps career.
And when you say Go, it's the Go language.
Yes, of course, Go language.
We have it in the TechRadar.
Of course,
sustainable. It's a sustainable.
Of course, but the language, we decided to go on Go because it's now the thing. But there are many languages. It's just a choice.
Don't forget to ask me any question. No stupid question, of course. You could ask any question, and I will take live, of course. But my stupid question, in a way, I'm just kidding. Any school, any specific training for cloud native, for now? No.
No, I think even mainframe engineers could morph to cloud native if you are curious. If you have all the content on the web. Most of the software is open source. You can use it, you can train it. Okay. And the key skill needed is architect, in fact. And you see when you want to move on cloud native, if you have a journey, and when you use the TechRadar, you could start analyzing your portfolio of existing applications and how to move them in cloud native. You have Cast, which is a French company for that. Then you select your infrastructure, Kubernetes for Nir, serverless for me, or a mix of them, and a database, and there are all stuff on cloud native. And then you need to create applications with the internal development platform, Backstage, GitHub, GitLab. You have framework like Dapper. Dapper is an open source created by Microsoft and Alibaba. There is somebody of Alibaba here, where you can help. It helps you to create cloud native application, and then you have to monitor it, to observe, as we say today, open telemetry standard. You have to secure it. So it's a long journey. You have a lot of stuff to learn, and you need curious people because those technologies did not exist 5 years ago for most of them.
So you see, it's when I see my son, he's 18 years old. So I told him, you need to learn Kubernetes. You need to get some certification, from the hyperscaler because this is a new standard, and then start working, on low-code, no-code platform that we discussed already. That's really the out system. So that's really the path is to say, okay, you need to be able to understand what are the trends on the public cloud, how you're going to leverage, this cloud native and Kubernetes stuff, and how you're going to develop. That's the, and this is.
And you need to have like a stage, in French.
Well, he's working for Devoteam.
I do hope your son told you, I want to have fun, not Kubernetes.
That's why he works for.
But it's also a skill. It's maybe not a degree that you have, but it's a skill because it's a lot of technology and it's not all easy technology, to be honest. Kelsey Hightower calls it Kubernetes the hard way. If you really go to the core, it's not that easy. So it requires something of a skill to be interested in that, want to dive into it, want to automate, want to have that. So it's more of a mindset than a technology that you have.
Maybe some people are interested in cloud native developers or even young people. I don't know. Maybe we could tell them one advice before. To start?
Join Devoteam first.
That's the first one. And the second one is, I'll do it in the camera, read the TechRadar. But more important, of course you have to read it, but then disagree with it, give me a call because I want to have coffee with you. Because I think that is the key, disagree with us. We are here the so-called expert on the table, but in fact I think you guys out there are the experts. You live in this world that's becoming more and more driven by cloud native technology. You know how it works, you know what to expect from it. You have demands from it. I want to know them. I want to have the discussion. I want you to tell me the TechRadar sucks. You need other technology in there. I'm really looking forward to that discussion. And it's also something that I would like to say to organizations that are looking for talent. Embrace that discussion. Get people in that have that mindset and that wants to challenge you and also challenge your status quo and think we can do it better, we can do it faster, we can do it more cloud native. And I think that's a very important step for an organization also to become more cloud native.
And what about the tips to organizations and leaders or decision makers listening to us to hire people?
Yeah,
maybe I can.
I
can go in on that one because it's such an important topic, right? Like we talk about developers trying to become a lot more excited and open mindset to learn it, but I think a lot is down to the organizations as well as to how are you hiring people? Are you still using conventional methodologies where you're looking for a set criteria of academic qualifications, of a set number of years of experience? Because then you're really limiting the talent, because sometimes you have somebody like an asset manager in your organization who just wants to optimize the environment, right? And they do great things. Sometimes you have developers who want to build in early data analytics skills so that they can leave the hard stuff for the data scientists, but they can do initial BI and analytics themselves. So people are trying to de-skill and upskill as well. So it's very much on to the organizations as well. And I think as we go through these tough macro economic challenges, I'm beginning to see that a lot of organizations are reviewing their test and dev environment, right? For me, it is one of the critical workloads. That's where your developers are using it as a sandbox environment to experiment, learn, fail fast, innovate fast. So if you don't think of it as a very important workload and are going to cut that down, then you're really limiting your talent. So it's very important to look at the test and dev workload as a critical one, which I don't think a lot of organizations are doing today.
Okay. Any other tips or advice to give to people
it's about,
considering cloud native seriously?
It's about what you see in the technologies in the TechRadar. It's many companies, they think about we need to have the latest technologies to attract the talents and keep them. It's really important to say, okay, for example, if you say somebody you're going to be a developer on mainframe, I'm not sure it will work. But if you say you're going to work on something which is cutting edge, work on edge computing, for example, or whatever, then you bring people. And this is really important to have this continuous innovation in place with new technologies to attract the talents. And this is what we apply to ourselves as well. We try to be on the edge for this and say, okay, come and join us because you will work on the latest technologies.
Sure.
Yeah.
And do you think AI will replace developers to generate code?
Well,
no.
No, not completely, but when you look at the content of ChatGPT, it's quite impressive.
Yeah, it's quite impressive.
It's quite impressive.
And it's developer productivity. Yeah. I think the developer productivity will rise like crazy. I don't think they will be replaced.
It will complement.
And we need architects, because even if GPT creates some functions, the global architecture of the application, it's maybe in your mind and not in AI.
Just before we go to two questions from the audience, thanks, there are plenty of questions for you, dear experts. Just to end on organization tips for organization, isn't it a good view to have like duo, meaning one tech people, based on what you said, entering cloud native solutions and manipulating, the solution, with one people focus on business, because that's what I understand from cloud native technology. It's all about business and business value and over the top business of existing business. No,
I think we should stop talking in sense of business and IT.
Yeah,
I think we're all trying to do the same here, right? We are in a company, we're trying to build value for that company, and we're still in discussions, oh, this is a business topic, this is an IT topic. It's one topic, it's making your business successful.
And when you look at how we want to organize ourselves, we have people dedicated on each cloud, Google, Amazon, Azure, and even on-prem. And for a project, you need a fusion team, bringing business analysts, developers, cloud specialists, maybe AI specialists, and you designers, of course, and you need to create the team to bring value to the business.
it's now time, and Archana, you stay with us, please. Is that now time for questions from you, dear audience, in a few seconds.
The tech landscape can be difficult to navigate. Are you sure you're making the right technological choices? What if your digital decisions were guided by tech natives? Born in tech, Devoteam has more than 25 years of deep expertise in cloud, cyber, and AI. Be guided by natives. Download Devoteam's TechRadar.
And we're back here, live here from Paris, in Paris, with our Devoteam experts and Nir Shafi from Ridge, an Israel-based cloud startup. So now it's time to take your question. Thank you. The first is for you, Archana. It's a question, I'm going to take them here directly. The first one is, how do you stay up to date with the latest trend in cloud-native computing? And what do you think will be the next big thing in this space? Another prediction for you.
Yeah, great one. It's a big question, right? But it's also an important one. I think, how do you stay up to date? Be curious. Be curious as a team. Be curious as an organization, and don't be afraid to try. But make sure you try it in a sandboxed environment, so you're not messing the production environment. But always be curious, and don't be scared of these new technologies. So that would be an important mindset to develop. What will be the next big thing? Look, there are so many different trends happening, right? And we need to look at the impact of generative AI on the application world and cloud native world, and see how we can bring them all together to augment a developer, but also look at it as an application or a service to improve the business value. I think we have reached an inflection point in cloud, and right now where organizations are, they are in this messy middle. They want to find success in the messy middle because they have so many newer considerations to their cloud adoption. Right now, cost is becoming an issue. Now they are thinking about sovereignty and compliance. Skills is becoming a key topic as well. So there are so many different considerations, which is why cloud adoption is in that messy stage. So I think what we will see now is organizations becoming a lot more mature and focusing on business value realization. So they will define the question or the business outcome that they want. They will define it and then look for a solution, rather than jumping on the cloud or cloud native train because their peers are doing so. They will tie it a lot more closer to the business outcomes. And I also think that they will balance it. So speed, scale, and agility is very, very important, as is control and stability. So they will bring the other teams together to have a balanced approach towards cloud and cloud native. That's when we can say these technologies and these architectures are maturing.
Thanks, Shana, for your answer. One question dedicated to one very important topic, which is not only cyber threat, AI, etc., which is CSR and sustainability. And one question for you, Yatyan. Yeah. Does the cloud native have any benefits from a sustainability perspective?
Yeah, that's the general answer, but let me explain a little bit, because this again is a broad topic. Yeah, it definitely has. And one of the things that we also did in the TechRadar is a separate chapter on sustainability and what tech can help you with that. But I think the first thing I'd like to mention is that the hyperscalers, as we mentioned, Google, Microsoft, Amazon, they do this on a much larger scale, all that infrastructure. And by making that scale larger, for them it's easier to make it more carbon friendly and sustainable. And so a lot of these hyperscalers are already moving very quickly to becoming carbon zero. And that's a good thing, because moving your workloads to the cloud will help you with your own carbon footprint as well in that case. But it doesn't come completely automatic, because there's more to the world and with your company and with your decentralized infrastructure than just the cloud. So it's part of it. And I think tools like, for example, Salesforce Net Zero Cloud can help you with making a better view of what's happening in my infrastructure and how can I make that work better from a carbon perspective. And then, of course, probably the most important one is just use what you need and don't use extra. So if you don't use certain infrastructure, shut it down. Don't let it run. Yeah. And cloud native makes that very easy. And I think because that's all on an infrastructure part, I also would like to say to the developers, think about how you build your algorithms. Make your algorithms more efficiently. That helps with your carbon footprint because it uses less CPU to run because you build it more efficient. But it also helps with your whole life because your whole code is more efficient, and it's just in maintainability, in speed, in everything becomes better if you do it.
A question for you, Philippe. What are your thoughts on the most promising cloud-native technologies and their potential impact on organization, digital transformation strategy?
So I want to be a friend of Nir. So I would say the first technology is Kubernetes, of course. and we invest a lot on it because there is Kubernetes, and around it there are a lot of additional technology. But also there is a more abstract layer on top of Kubernetes, which is serverless. Knative, Lambda, Cloud Run, we have several in the TechRadar. Those are the most important. And of course, everything is important, but those two ones, and I think we told it already, are the one you have to invest on to begin the cloud native journey.
You can add something if you want. We have some.
Yeah,
some
you
time.
can.
Oh, you agreed with me, so okay.
Yeah, that's why I understand. Exactly. One question for you, Yatyan. What are the best practices for migrating existing applications to a cloud-native environment, and what are some of the potential challenges we may face during the process? I guess it's to your question.
Okay, so how much time do we?
You have 1 hour. No. Okay. It's a joke.
But it's a big one, of course, because it depends a little bit on where you are, what your business is, where you want to go, where you are now. So to make it very specific is hard. But there are some generic things that I can say, I think. And maybe the first one starts with, before you even migrate to cloud, start with making your own house in order, I like to call it. So start with automating your processes, start working cloud native, even on your own data center, because it makes your life easier when you move to the cloud. And if you move bad stuff to the cloud, you will get bad stuff in the cloud. So the cloud won't solve your bad infrastructure and your bad code. So make your house in order if you want to move. Consider managed services, because cloud can be quite daunting, it can be hard, and there are companies that can help you with that. There's managed services to help you out with that. I think we mentioned a couple of times as well, security, of course. Keep security in mind. That's an important thing because it changes. You still have to be secure, but it changes a little bit how you do it. And maybe a little bit of a weird one in a cloud native webinar, but don't go to the cloud because of the cloud. Think about it from a value perspective. Why am I moving to the cloud? What do I expect from it? Do I really get that? How do I measure my success in that?
Thanks for that answer. A question?
Maybe
Yeah,
I can
Shana?
add just a point to that. I think that those were some great points made, right? But I think in addition, I think this application modernization is a golden opportunity for organizations to look at their data, right? And in many cases where I see extreme success in the cloud is when data strategy precedes the cloud strategy, right? It's a great opportunity for organizations to cleanse their data, to go through that data minimization exercise and put in extremely valuable data up in the cloud where they can put in all those AI, ML, and all these additional accelerators, right, to get more business value from the cloud. So I think it's a great opportunity to hit two birds with a stone, if you will, right? You can also get better at becoming an intelligent organization if you do your core modernization by thinking a data-driven perspective as well.
Thanks for your answer, Archana. A question for you, Nia. How can we ensure that our development teams are fully equipped with the necessary skills to effectively leverage cloud-native technologies? And what are some of the training and development programs that we can offer to support them?
Actually, there's no magic here. It's like good old-fashioned hard work. If you look at, I don't know, 500 years ago for, to be a physician, right? Everybody, like, you didn't go to medical school, right? Today you're going to medical school and you're, I don't know, you become a physician after, I don't know, 2 decades and you specialize in one specific organ. So it's the same way here. Technology evolves in the last, especially cloud. 15 years ago, AWS launched first EC2 machines. Now they call it a cloud. Now everybody says cloud. So there's no magic here. You need the skill set. You need, obviously, to learn the language. As I said, this is cloud native, but more over cloud itself, right? It's if you look at all of the vendors, AWS, GCP, and Azure, everybody has a unique, proprietary API or proprietary applications and web services that they introduce. You don't have to specialize on all of them. And if you look at all of the technologies in TechRadar here, cloud native ones, which are deployed on top of Kubernetes, you don't need to specialize at 100 and something or 1 million ones. You need, right? You need to focus on what you do need and the value that it brings to you. So really, hard work. There's no magic here.
Thanks, Nia. A question for you, Frank. How can cloud-native technologies help us reduce our operational cost and improve our efficiency? And what are some of the key metrics we should be tracking to measure the impact?
Okay, 1 minute.
You have 1 minute. 1 minute. Yeah.
Okay, so it's. Let's go back to what I was mentioning about application modernization, about engineering velocity. So here we say, okay, if you modernize your landscape, you should be able to be quicker, faster, and more efficient. So looking at the chain to deliver the applications, you would say, okay, I need to have features deliver quicker. So that's, I would say, the velocity and the amount of features that you can deliver every day. So for example, if you take the big companies, they do multiple releases per day. Then it's about also quality and resiliency. It's how often do you have a disruption or something which goes wrong and how you can roll back. So number 2 would be, I would say, look at those metrics. And number 3, of course, it's back to what Archana and Gertian were mentioning. It's about business value. So when you do transformation, when you go cloud native and modernize applications, it's because you want to enhance the applications, you want to leverage new value streams. So you need to be able to assess this business value. That's, I would say, the third one that you need to look at.
Thanks. Archana, one question for you, please. What are some misconceptions about cloud native and how can businesses avoid them when adopting these technologies?
Oh, I love that question. There are so many misconceptions, right? Because it's a new tech. But I think the core one is do not put a monolith on a container and expect cloud native benefits, right? You need to adapt your processes, how you develop technologies and how you develop those services as well. So it's just one component, but you cannot, it's not a silver bullet. It's not magic. You need to make sure, to Nir's point, you work hard and you adopt it for the right reasons with the right approach. So do not put a monolith on a container would be one misconception where people think they will get value. And the second one is, it's a great piece of technology or it's a great approach towards building your digital business, but it's not for all workloads. There's some workloads that really lend themselves to say, if for your organization you have some homegrown app that lends itself well to a mainframe environment, so be it, right? Do not try to shoehorn everything into a cloud native environment. You have all these different heterogeneous infrastructure coexisting. They're there for a reason. They're important. So think about right balance and have cloud native where it suits you very well, but adopt it.
Right, thank you. And one last question before we end that TechRadar new edition and unveiling. It's a question for you, Frank, but we can of course have a roundtable on that last answer. How are you, reskilling, very important topic, reskilling your IT workforce to keep up with the rapid changes in cloud technologies, and what strategies have to get to be effective and engaging engaging in this process?
So number one, I will please Nir. It's to say, okay, learn the basic, the de facto spec, and know how to use it. That's number one. And then it's look after I would say the new companies, so the fast-growing ones. So you were mentioning Snowflake and Datadog and HashiCorp. That's really keep up with the pace of those companies, because they will be the shining stars. And also look after the startups. So we are mentioning Reach, but we have others in the TechRadar, and because they build the trend and they build the new skills that you will need tomorrow. And the final one, it's learn AI at some point, because that's how you build an AI model and so on. You will need to have it and to understand how it works. Today, tomorrow, maybe later, but that's mandatory.
And to add on that, I would also say that I would always like to challenge people to think about why are we doing it, because in the end we probably tomorrow we have 3 new technologies and we can dive in them and it's nice, and we built a new TechRadar and they're great and they are great, but why are we doing this and what's the reason behind it? Why do we automate? Do you know about lean principles, for example? Or do you know the cloud native architecture principles? So why are we building this? Because then you can also challenge the TechRadar. You can say, hey, but you put this in, but if I go back to the principles of what we try to do, it doesn't fit at all. So, and then we have a good discussion.
Thank you very much to all of you, dear Devoteam experts, and thank you very much, Ashana. Enjoy Malaga, and see you next time. Thank you so much. Please download TechRadar new edition on devoteam.com, or scan the QR code if it's going on the screen. And yeah, thank you very much, and see you soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.